2023 might be one of the best years in gaming for me. I had a feeling that this year was going to slap based off of what was coming out, but everything landed for me. Even the stuff that I didn't get around to playing looked like they hit. The only thing that holds this year back isn't garbage like Gollum or the day before. It's how many layoffs happened this year. Like seriously, this must have been the worst year for layoffs. If there's anything on this top 10 list that you think should have made it, or have any recommendations for stuff that wasn't on my radar, please let me know. I'll take anything that can make this year more stacked. And to go over how this list is going to work, I'll be going over what made each game special to me and why they're on the list, but this time I'll end it off with why a game wasn't my GOTY. Because holy hell, this was a hard list to organize this year. I feel like I need to explain why a game didn't win GOTY. Lastly, I would say ignore the score in my reviews for this video. Based off of expectations and other factors, each game has its own scale. So one game being a 9 could be worse than another game being an 8 just because I have more expectations for that other game. Doesn't matter, review scores are dumb anyways. With all that out of the way, let's just jump into it. We appreciate a messy game in this household.
Whatever lies at the end of this road will change humanity forever.
Starfield is deeply flawed. It needs to pick a lane. It tries too many things and masters none of them. But because of that, I believe you will find a way to enjoy this game if you give it enough time. I personally did find a way to enjoy the game, and it's an aspect of the game that I 100% get if someone hated doing. I weirdly enjoyed exploring its boring, empty planets. This game has joined Minecraft and has become a new comfort game for me. I think I put like 70 or 80 hours into it when it launched, and 75% of that time was me walking around empty planets, scanning rocks, and saying to myself, man, space is so cool. And I think that sentiment is at the heart of enjoying Bethesda games. Because they haven't grown as a studio in the last 20 years, but the baseline of their games are strong enough that if you take it and drop it into a setting that you like, you'll get an enjoyable experience out of it. And that's why I've had no interest in playing Elder Scrolls, but I've always enjoyed Fallout. Now take Elder Scrolls and put it in space? Yeah, I'll turn my brain off and play that. The story, from what I played because I dropped the main quest very quickly, was fine. Nothing special or anything. Not as fun as scanning space rocks on some random ass planet. If someone looked at why I enjoyed this game and thought I was insane, I'd get it. It's literally only here because I find it weirdly relaxing. And I love space. It's not GOTY material, but I think it's neat.
I gotta tell you, this is pretty terrific. Yeah.
Given my opinions on this game, it's really funny that I forgot to write an intro for it. Spider-Man 2 is a very good game. Insomniac is creating some of the best and most consistent superhero content right now. The story is the best that I've seen for Spider-Man, excluding Spider-Verse. It's the best versions for Peter, MJ, Harry, Venom, and so many other characters that I've seen. The combat isn't too different, but it does a great job improving on the original. The game fits perfectly with the other two and creates a very solid trilogy. But that's the issue. It fits in too well. It's weird to see a game that's better than what came before it in literally every way and have such little impact on me when the original had a pretty big impact on me. It doesn't help that it came out this year. In every aspect that this game succeeds in, it was outclassed by another game. I played better combat this year. I heard better music. I saw better stories with better performances. I explored more interesting worlds. I think the worst part is that it doesn't add anything massive that completely shakes up the gameplay loop from the original. So it just felt like I was playing Spider-Man 1 again with a couple new additions and a new story. Like that holds it back the most. I still think the game is great, and if you like the original, it's 100% worth your time. Unlike the first game, it won't be anything new or refreshing.
We're going to heal
Like the first.
everyone.
A great hunt begins.
This is one of the most new and refreshing games I've ever played.
Let's rock.
There is nothing like Hi-Fi Rush. A very charming character action where everything is set to the music. Literally everything in the world. Nothing is offbeat, unless it's an offbeat. Guys, Edgar Wright is my favorite director. Of course I'm going to love the game that has the same sound design philosophy as one of his movies, along with a fun art style. The combat is a blast when you get the hang of it and end up in a flow state. Like, it can get so satisfying, dude. But it's not my GOTY for two reasons. The writing can be rough at times. It's definitely one of those games that tries every joke and very few work. It's like watching a Saturday morning cartoon.
That's good.
As an adult.
That's bad.
The second issue is a skill issue. The flow state you can get from it is amazing, but I'm shit at this game, which makes it so frustrating most of the time. There's so much to juggle and my stupid lizard brain can't handle it. So I end up getting tilted, mess up and die, and now I'm having less fun. It's not even getting too fast for me to handle. I've played rhythm games that go faster than this, but playing Devil May Cry while trying to stay on beat makes it impossible for me at times. I think on average I was getting 65 to 75% of my inputs on beat, and another 25 to 35% of the time led to me not doing enough damage and dying. I don't think I've ever loved a game so much while knowing I would love it so much more if I wasn't bad at it. It's the biggest skill issue ever. All that being said, I think everybody should give it a try. Yes, the dialogue can suck. Yes, being bad at it hurts my enjoyment of it, but it was such a blast in those few times that I was able to absolutely mess up a group of enemies. Please give Hi-Fi Rush a chance. If you end up being good at it, I guarantee it will be one of the most fun character actions you've ever played.
Is that a weapon? I think he's resisting.
I'm going to keep this one short because I talk about this series every year. Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, the title so long it gets its own line, is the penultimate game for one of the most beloved characters of all time. It's got the Like a Dragon standards, fun combat, it adds a super fun style to Kiryu's kit. The side content is blah blah blah. You know why I love this series. This is on the list because of what it means to me as a fan of these games. This is most likely the last time that we'll see Kiryu in a new action game, and maybe the second last time we see him in a game in general. So running around Sotenbori kind of felt like a victory lap in this game. But what really made me realize this was the ending. Not to spoil too much, jump to the next entry if you don't want to know anything at all, but it's the most emotional ending that I've ever seen in a video game. It kind of relies on what makes this game work for me a lot. Like, you need the context from the other games and where we are in this series to appreciate it. But man, watching Kiryu cry over that iPad was fucking hard to watch. Him watching that video was the closest that a video game has ever gotten me to crying. And then they had to show Kiryu that drawing. I couldn't keep it in anymore, dude. I followed this man over the course of 8 video games. I just want him to be happy. And seeing him break down like this and having him be so far away from the one thing that can finally make him happy. If you like Kiryu and have a heart, it's impossible to keep it together. I'm going to be a mess during Infinite Wealth if they pull anything like this game's ending. It's not my GOTY because it is a smaller game and it doesn't separate itself a whole lot from the others in the series. Honestly, it's only this much higher than Spider-Man because I prefer how Like a Dragon does open worlds. And the game made me cry. While it is more special compared to the games under it, that's just because Like a Dragon is special in general. If you love the other games, you've probably already played it. But if you want this one to be your first experience with the series, what the hell are you doing? Go install Zero. It's also on Game Pass. And that's why this game isn't my GOTY. And it's also the lowest the series has ever ranked for me. But don't feel too bad, Like a Dragon. Infinite Wealth looks like it's about to pop the hell off. And what are the odds that a new Ichiban game is going to release the same year as another Final Fantasy VII Remake project? Good luck, Ichi. You'll need it.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
This is only here because of the gameplay. Final Fire Emblem Engage, from a gameplay standpoint, is the best FE I've played. The Emblem mechanic works fantastically for an anniversary game. It had so much depth that it was a blast to see what they could do. The character building is the best in the series. There's so much theory crafting that I was doing that ended up working. More so than any game in the genre, I felt like I was cooking with some of these strategies. And it was so satisfying to see them play out. I'm super excited to stream this game on the hardest difficulty when I finish platinum in every Kingdom Hearts game. And they cut down on the bloat from 3 houses too. Despite how much I love those sections, they're way more bearable here. I think it might be the best designed strategy game I've played. Like seriously, this is the most fun Fire Emblem game purely from a gameplay standpoint. But here's the thing with it. From a story and character standpoint, you know, the other half of what makes a great JRPG, it's awful. I enjoyed some of the characters and few of them are funny. Engage is truly what people who don't like Fire Emblem exclusively because of Smash and have never touched the game in this series before think Fire Emblem is like. And I mean that in the most insulting way possible towards the game. There were way too many moments where my initial reaction was to make fun of the story. Like, shut the fuck up about the rings your mommy gave you, Alear. You're not 6. Grow up. This game's story is like a kid playing with his dad's Fire Emblem Figmas. Everybody operates on child logic. That's why Engage isn't my GOTY. Gameplay is king for this series, but it needs those other pillars to be good. If you like strategy RPGs and Fire Emblem, give it a shot. You will enjoy the gameplay a lot. I guarantee you might not like anything else.
Shall we fight them? As you wish, Divine One. You whose bravery knows no equal.
No, let's run.
Very few games feel as good as a solid entry in this series. Super Mario Wonder is amazing. There are echoes of Rayman Legends throughout this game. And if you know me, you know how much that means. The creativity behind the levels is insane. To quote one of my friends, the Dancing Piranha Plant level is the 2nd level. They must have some crazy stuff later on if that's the 2nd level. And they do. Every Wonder Seed effect was outstanding. I have never been so excited to collect an item in a platformer because the mechanics that it pulls out are marvelous. I think the one that really blew me away outside of the Dancing Piranha Plants are the ones where the game becomes top down and you run around the walls. Like, this shit is kind of insane. There's so many things in this game that nothing else in the genre has done. I'm a simple man. If you give me a tight controlling platformer with fantastic level design, non-intrusive multiplayer, and music levels, I'm a happy guy. And the online is something else. Such an interesting way to connect players with randos. And the ways that players communicate with each other with very little options is superb. The connection that you build with these players is kind of unreal. There's no platformer that does what it does as good as it does. Except Rayman Legends. Despite how fabulous it is, it's not my GOTY for 2 reasons. 1, I'm more of an XYZ guy when it comes to platformers than an XY guy. 2, I still like Rayman Legends more. Like I said, that game was echoing in my mind while I was playing this, so when Legends did stuff better, I was a tad let down. If this had surpassed that game, it would be higher. But at the end of the day, Mario Wonder is still sensational. Okay, this one just hit me in the right spot. I'd completely get why someone would be like, why the hell is this here? Have you ever played a game that's so good at what it does that you fall in love with it, and then you have to flee your home country and start a new life because no one understands the connection that you two have? That's me with Theatrhythm Final Fantasy Final Bar Line. This is my favorite rhythm game ever. There's a full-ass RPG in here, which is crazy for a traditional rhythm game. I actually can't get over them making this an RPG. Because of that, I was able to clear songs by fully failing them. A full fail, if you will, the exact opposite of a full clear. I am actively trying to get a triple S on every song on every difficulty in this game, game, excluding the hardest difficulties because these tracks are f***ed. But these 1 difficulty songs will stay at their cleared F rank forever. Of course, the FF rhythm game has the ability to FF songs, something I haven't seen in any other. It's easily the best soundtrack for a rhythm game, which is cheating because FF has some of the best songs in all of gaming, but that's what makes this game work. And the love for the franchise and its music is everywhere. And the DLC, all killer. It's got songs from so many different Square Enix games that it takes this celebration of one series and also turns it into a celebration of the works that the creatives made outside of it. It's got songs from the best video game soundtrack ever, Near the World Ends With You, and it's the 3 songs I would have picked. With DLC, there's like 600 songs in this game too, so you will be occupied with it. No joke. It's one of my most played games of the year. My only issue with it is that they were cowards with some songs. Why the hell is it just the last section of Dancing Mad from FF6 and not the full 20-minute song? And they don't even have the full version of Hellfire from 15. They were truly cowards with some songs. That's not why this game isn't my GOTY though. I would have to be insane to drop this game down to 4 because they didn't have one 20-minute song. I'm already insane enough for putting it this high. Personally, this is as high as a game in this genre can reach for me. As much as I think it's a flawless rhythm game, it's at its best, but that's worse than what's to come. Theatrhythm Final Bar Line is the peak of the genre. If you like rhythm games or JRPG music, do yourself a favor and pick this game up and drop $60 on its DLC. Trust me, you won't regret it. We're doing stuff differently for the Honourable Mentions this year. This time we're going to talk about games that I didn't end up playing that I wanted to get to that probably would have made the list. Baldur's Gate 3, I know, shut the f*** up, John. I'll get to it. It's like the greatest game ever, I guess. I was waiting for it to come to Game Pass, but that's not happening, so time to wait for a solid sale. Dead Space Remake. I love the first 2. It's installed on my Xbox, I just haven't gone around to launching it yet. Cocoon. Apparently the best indie puzzle game ever. Looks super cool. Haven't opened it yet. Viewfinder. I love Superliminal, and it's the same vibe, so I'm sure I'll love it. Persona 5 Tactica. I started it, and then Cyberpunk Ultimate Edition came out, and I am now replaying that. Octopath 2. Apparently the best turn-based JRPG ever. Resident Evil 4 Remake. I'm just waiting for this to be $20 physically at GameStop. Advanced Wars 1+2 Boot Camp. I love Fire Emblem. Should probably give this series a shot. Pikmin 4. I hate that I haven't played this yet. Lies of P. Milan, you don't have to shut the f*** up about it because you haven't convinced me yet. And let me know if there are any others that I missed. For now, let's get back to it. The final games took me about a month to be satisfied with their placements. They've all shuffled between these 3 ranks. I have never played a game with such high highs and the okayest of lows. Final Fantasy XVI is a masterclass in action combat and spectacle in a JRPG. When this game wants to have an insane boss fight, it pops the hell off. The scale of these fights are insane in ways that were just QTEs in the past. Did you see how big Titan was? This shit can be so bombastic at times. I fought that motherfucker in space in the best boss fight I have ever played in a JRPG. And that final boss fight, so good. It does the impossible and makes controlling a really big dude in a boss fight not suck, becoming the highlights of the game. The combat is so fucking fun, and thanks to New Game Plus, it can actually push back. The music, easily the best soundtrack of the year. No contest whatsoever. The first boss theme, Away, is better than most final boss songs. Ascension's string section is a perfect blend of elegance and chaos. You got some nice out-of-pocket stuff like Titan Lost. Put the soundtrack on streaming services already, Square. Ben Starr gives the best performance of the year by far, and an overall very fun story. But why is this absolute thrill ride not my GOTY? Outside of New Game Plus, it's very easy, and when this roller coaster slows down, it's fine, but it just feels so much worse than what came before it. Like, how does Clive sleep at night after these fights? The slower moments really hurt this game to the point where I think it would be better off without them. The game does have some flaws that hold it back, but despite all of that, Final Fantasy XVI proves that Yoshi P doesn't miss.
To the slaughter with you.
The legacy of the crystals has shaped our history. For long enough.
When I said review scores don't matter, I was spoiling this game not being GOTY. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the greatest form of this type of Zelda game. I agree with the devs' take on that one. There isn't a single thing that I think it does worse than Breath of the Wild, unless I'm forgetting something. To the point where I don't want to go back. Why would I throw away this game's superior sandbox, when that's what this sub-series is all about? The dungeons are way better than the original. I was about to list everything else it does better. That would just involve listing everything that these games do. The story is the biggest improvement though, I will shout that out. It's still not the best in the series, but it feels like they tried more, and the world in general just feels so much more alive. The depths is the coolest thing I've ever seen in an open world game, and the building? Dude, at least there's so much more creativity in puzzle solving, or in f***ing around. I saw that someone made Godzilla. Link, I don't know if you can beat him. Zelda, I'm in a goddamn Metal Gear right now. Ganon is cooked. And the Ultra Hand mechanic overshadows the fact that you could jump through any ceiling and end up in its roof. Like, that mechanic is insane. That must have been a pain to make. And that's not the highlight mechanic everyone was talking about. So many games have tried to emulate Breath of the Wild. How many times have you seen a character hold a glider like this since 2017? But with this game, the Zelda team has proved again that they are the best at what they do. When I was struggling to figure out what it was about Spider-Man 2 that didn't land for me, this game helped me figure it out. Tears of the Kingdom changes how I interacted with Breath of the Wild's world and sandbox. So much so that I don't want to go back to a game I have 200 hours in. This game is so special, dude. It does some things that others fail in, and surpasses its predecessor to become the best open world exploration I've played in a game. Unlike Starfield, it picked a lane and it's at its best for it, which is also why it's above FF16. It never reaches those lows, but ultimately, I experienced something similar to it 6 years ago. I don't think it's overpriced DLC. Maybe if it was more different, it would have been my GOTY. And it was my game of the year until halfway through November. Because despite all those little things that hold it back slightly, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a masterclass in game design.
Link, I am not sure you'll be able to stop him.
Stories have the power to stick with people, change their lives. But when the story is a monster, it stalks you in the night until it can eat you alive.
Show me the champion of light. I'll show you the herald of darkness.
There is truly nothing like Alan Wake 2. The closest thing to it is a demo for the most promising horror game to ever be cancelled. The looping, constantly changing terror that was PT, that Silent Hills would have been, is this game. Between its fantastic characters lies two very different games that synergize with each other perfectly. I didn't take it in until I replayed it in final draft mode, and I stuck with Saga until I finished her story, but these two play radically different. Like, they control the same, but everything else around them legitimately feels like two different games in the best possible way. The story is another mind-bending spiral from Remedy. Easily the best story of the year, nothing comes close. I haven't thought about any other game's story this year as much as this one's. There's no vibe as good as this one's in all of gaming, except Control, another Remedy-made game. There's something about Remedy that I'm creatively drawn to. Guys, look how I've done rankings for the Game of the Year videos. It's heavily inspired by Control, and I even used the sound from Alan Wake 2's title drop this year. This mismatch of everything that Sam Lake loves combined with his own voice just hits me so hard. The writer's room and the light mechanic in the dark place is the most unique puzzle solving I've ever seen in a horror game. Luckily, the Mind Place is still fun to do on repeat playthroughs. The combat is an insane step up from Alan Wake 1. Hell, the only reason to go back to play that one now is for the story. This game is able to get the exact emotion that it wants to get out of you at all times. The scariest section for me was one where an enemy doesn't even jump out at you. It just terrified me to be down in that section because the game does such a good job of putting you on edge. The shadows droning, repeating Alan's name made my heart race every single time I turned into one. The dark place in this game has changed my nightmares. But the few times that I've had them since I played this game, they've all been set in a city just as grimy as the dark places New York, with similar creatures lurking in the night. Never has anything scary fundamentally changed the horrors my mind makes up in the night. Excluding Luigi's Mansion when I first played it. Give me a break. I was 4 when that game came out and it gave me like 6 nightmares. All of this coming from a game that had me dancing to the best music segment I've ever seen, which is even more impressive when you factor in that it took that title from Control, Remedy's previous game. Reminder that Remedy is just built different. I straight up haven't stopped thinking about this game since I first played it, or stopped listening to Herald of Darkness. Constantly theory crafting and trying to figure out what some stuff means and where it's all going, which is something I love in stories. Also, everybody's sleeping on Dark Ocean Summoning. That song is very good too. Despite all the amazing things that this game and the other games do, there's one specific reason why it's my GOTY. The first one came out when I was 13 in 2010. And as I say many times throughout the game, the events of the first one happened 13 years ago. All Remedy games take place in the year they were released in. Alan Wake 2 came out when I was 26. I waited half my life for this game, and it still blew me away and gave me an experience I will never forget. An experience I've never had before. On a less personal level, think about how many games have similar time gaps between entries and have split the fan base in half. I have not seen a single Alan Wake or Remedy fan disappointed in this game. When I look back on the games that I played in 2023, I'm not going to think about the Bethesda game that basically took my whole life to make first. I'm not going to think about the fantastic but has nothing really special to it Spider-Man game. I'm not going to think about the unique rhythm character action. It's not going to be the time Kiryu made me cry. It's not going to be the incredibly fun and also laughably bad story of Engage. It's not going to be the wonderful 2D Mario. It's not going to be the best rhythm game I've ever played. It could have been the craziest roller coaster I've ever seen come out of the Final Fantasy series that I waited 3 years for. It could have been the perfect sequel to the best designed game that I've ever played that I waited 4 years for, but it's going to be the modern horror masterpiece that I waited 13 years for. That's why Alan Wake 2 is my game of the year. Man, what a stacked year. I bet there's going to be a lot of stuff that I didn't get to this year bleeding over into next year's list. Again, if there's anything you think I would enjoy that wasn't on the list, let me know. Do you agree? Think I'm an idiot? Comment down below. Dislike the video if you have the balls to say that modern gaming is bad in this year out of all years you could have picked to make this complaint. And subscribe for more content. Follow me on other platforms if you want. Take care, guys.